Welcome to Boomer Bongo Boulevard. I'm Mike Just Mike. Along with me is Ron Just Ron, and we like to talk about boomer topics and topics that
Indeed.
interest boomers, and hopefully maybe some non-boomers are interested as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I hear it's important. We don't know why, but we're just going to keep
I'm
saying it.
still going with don't hit it. Don't hit it, man. Just
Don't
do the
hit it. Leave it
opposite.
alone.
Don't
Leave
don't
it
even,
alone.
don't even bother with it.
Don't touch that thing.
Just ignore it.
But hey, our boomer topic tonight is favorite TV cars, and Ron, we didn't talk about it a whole lot because we wanted to leave it pretty open. But
Yeah.
I wanted to. I kind of stuck with the '60s and maybe early '70s with my cars. I picked three, and you picked three, and we have not discussed it, so we may have picked the
Not
same
at all.
three. Go
Not at all.
first. What's your first favorite TV car of the boomer era?
Okay. Well, I didn't necessarily go with favorite because my favorites are so well known. I thought that'd be a little boring. So I went with three that I found that would be a little bit different and kind of interesting. And the first one I'm gonna go with one of my curveball ones first, and that would be the Partridge Family Bus.
Oh, I like that. Good choice.
Yes, it is a 1957 Chevy Series 6800 Superior Coach
I like that.
touring bus, and it is painted in let's see, a Modrian inspired design. And Modrian was a abstract artist that lived until like the 40s, and he was like into all the geometric design and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. If you
So
have to picture.
the Partridges, it was on every episode. It was that they were on the bus all the time.
Sure. It was a big
And had
character.
it played a big part of the show. Keith even took it on dates, man.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't seem to have any other vehicle, which was pretty weird if you think about it.
Well, actually, Mrs. Partridge, a few times they showed her in a station wagon.
Station wagon, that's right.
That was it.
That,
And
yeah.
then you had Reuben, because he could always give them a ride. But
Hey,
going to
a
gigs,
teenage
it
boy.
was the old Partridge Family bus that they painted out in the driveway in the first episode.
Ron, a teenage boy cannot pick up a girl for a date in a station wagon. You just can't do it. You might get shot, at least back in those days. That's a great choice. Mine is the Route 66 convertible.
Oh,
The
nice.
Corvette. Todd and Buzz, 1960 to 1964 on the television program Route 66. The car was literally a character in the show.
Yeah, because Route 66 driving.
Oh, yeah, and it was the thing that caused Todd to decide to take off was I think his uncle had left this car to him.
Oh, wow.
Now, it doesn't explain why the Corvette kept changing over the years. They would update it a little in the off season.
Upgrading it and stuff.
Oh yeah, it was TV stuff though. But man, everybody, I think, at some point, everybody around our age kind of daydreamed about maybe getting hold of a Corvette and just taking off driving, holler at a buddy, and let's just go and see what happens. And Route 66, interesting show, usually a well written program, and if you loved Corvettes, you might be able to trace that love back to Route 66. So that's the first vehicle, like you said, that weren't the most obvious ones that popped into my head, and that one actually was pretty obvious. But
Yeah.
good old Todd and Buzz out on the road. What's your next one?
Okay, I got another oddball one, but it was a big part of the show. Very, very big part of the show. Actually, it was almost kind of a character as well. And it's a taxi cab, but it's a specific taxi cab. Good old number 804 on Taxi.
Yeah, okay.
Their favorite cab. The cab appeared in on the ending credits. I always showed 804 taking off, and they actually had a two-part episode when 804 got wrecked, and they were all stressed out. They were hoping that Latka could save it, and they sat around and they started telling stories about it. It was their first two-part episode ever. It was in the first seasons, episode 11 and 12, and it was famous for another reason too. It was an early television appearance by Tom Selleck,
Oh, wow! I didn't.
who was a passenger that Mary Lou Henner was telling her favorite story about what happened in cab 804, and
Tom Selleck.
she met and got up with, I guess, just I can't remember if she dated him or anything, but
Right.
of course he was good looking guy, Tom
Sure.
Selleck, so she remembered it. But yeah, he was in that episode, and it was just, it had all of them, doing different tales of what happened. I remember Bobby, that character, he got robbed, and he and this guy were in the taxi like for a whole night, and that was a pretty funny one. And they just, it was all of them different tales, and a couple of my favorite episodes, and I just remembered that real well. And like I said, 804, they always made references to it. They go, okay, who's got 804?
Well, for a while,
knew who 804. It was everybody's favorite cab. So
I don't know how long this lasted, but I remember reading an article that for a while, wealthy parents down in Florida and in California on the coast were importing, and I don't know if it's tied to the popularity of taxi or not, but they were importing London-made taxis for their kids to drive, to give to their kids for a first car, because they were durable,
steel,
reliable, they were safe, and they didn't go very fast.
Yeah.
So you didn't have you weren't attracting the wrong crowd. Somebody didn't come up to your kid because he had a new car and try to talk him into going down the drag races, because those taxis were not going to beat anybody in a drag race, but you could put him in the ditch and probably do a couple $100 worth of body work, and kid be out rolling again. And his punishment would be you'd leave a big dent maybe in the side of the car. He'd fix everything but that dent, and he could just drive a dented car. A lot of kids got punished with cars.
You made me think of another show that had a taxi cab prominently in it. That was Friends. Phoebe drove a taxi cab the whole series.
Yeah.
That was her car.
Yeah, Friends was not really a car series, though. There are some shows that are, and I mean, Taxi, obviously. My second one, Jim Rockford, James Garner. Driving that Pontiac Firebird Esprit, that gold Pontiac Firebird. That was his buddy.
Yeah,
and Jim Gardner was a great driver. In fact, he was as good as most stunt drivers. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he picked that car out for his character because, number one, he knew how to drive it. He knew it was, at least according to him, it had good balance. It had just the right amount of horsepower. It had just the right amount of acceleration. Handling was to his liking. And in that Pontiac Firebird Esprit, Jim Rockford, a la James Garner, perfected the J turn or the Rockford turn, where he would have a guy on his tail and he would slam the brakes on, turn with the spin, and J that thing around and come back the other way, and got away from a lot of bad guys that way on the Rockford Files. But what human being didn't want? I guess there were things like some of the movie cars, Steve McQueen's and all that, but who didn't want the and Burt Reynolds and his T-Bird that he had, but who didn't want it wasn't a Thunderbird, his was a Firebird as well, but what normal person couldn't see themselves in that Jim Rockford car? You could drive that to work and then kind of party. It was kind of like a car version of a shag haircut or the party, business on top, party in the back that people had. It was.
You sure didn't dream about Beretta's beater, man.
No, you didn't. Beretta, you didn't really. That was the whole catch to go. The whole thing about Beretta was he was a guy, you didn't want to be Beretta. You just liked to watch what Beretta was up to, just like in real life. You didn't want to be. If you wanted to be an actor, that was not the actor you wanted to be.
No.
but you wanted to keep an eye on the trials and all that he got involved in. What's your next one?
Okay. My next one is went with sort of an obvious one, but it's a little less than normal. Oh, Black Beauty, the Green Hornets car.
Yeah, I started to go with that, Ron. I really liked that car, but I thought that was made for TV. It was a custom car, and I sort of wanted to stay with cars that I guess you couldn't necessarily afford them.
But it was a '66 Chrysler Imperial Crown, and it basically just had green headlights, and they put all the weapons on it and stuff. It shot gas and had machine guns and all that.
Yeah.
But
it was just a little too close to the Batmobile for me. But I like that car, and I like your taste. That would have been cool. You could have driven one of those around, and people would have noticed it. But there would have been 100 people following you down the highway to try to get a second look or anything like that, like they would the Batmobile. Batmobile would stop traffic. But anyway, but I like that one. I like that a lot. And added bonus is Bruce Lee drove it. So what could be any better than a Green Hornet? Wasn't his sidekick?
Yeah, I was going to say that makes that one famous. Because he was the driver. Kato was the driver.
He was the driver.
Because he literally wore a driver's uniform.
A superhero, doubling as a chauffeur. My third one, and it wasn't in the series that much, although occasionally it was, and there were actually 3 or 4 of them, but the car that Maxwell Smart drove in the opening credits for Get Smart. Ron, listen to this lineup. In the pilot episode, he drove a 1961 Ferrari 250 GT Spider Cabriolet. All of these were convertibles and looked somewhat like an MG convertible, or the Mazda convertible now that's around, but that you see around. And then during the season 1 and 2, he drove something called a Sunbeam Tiger that was built in England, manufactured for a couple of years, but just a truly unique car. I mean, these might be the most unique cars ever driven.
That was the red one, correct?
I think, that's the red one. The I think the Ferrari was red as well.
Yeah.
And then the 3rd and 4th season, they changed sponsors, and they went to a blue convertible. Yeah. And it was a Volkswagen. Volkswagen Karmann Ghia convertible. Oh, wow. And then in the 5th season, the show changed networks. I had forgotten about this, so I was kind of glad I read this. They changed seasons. In season 5, they changed networks. Yeah. And he drove a 1969 Opel GT. And, I mean...
It was gold, wasn't it?
I can't remember the color. I didn't look that one up.
It was gold in the 5th season, yeah.
That's probably true because I'm sure they tried to distinguish the new network, and that would have been an objective.
Well, there was a cool scene in the Get Smart movie with Steve Carell where it's a chase scene right near the end of the movie, and he's like commandeering all these cars, and during the course of the chase and crashing and changing cars, he drives every single one of the Maxwell Smart cars in order.
And that's the irony. The irony of this goofy secret agent, this imbecile, Maxwell Smart, probably driving the coolest lineup of sports cars ever put together for a TV series. So
loving it.
And see, I set you up for that, buddy. You got any more?
I was sitting there waiting.
Have you gone through?
Well, I don't have any more, but I would feel we'd be remiss if we, because we didn't do the obvious one. The people are going, "Oh man, you didn't talk about the Batmobile."
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to talk about the Batmobile. Everybody talks about the Bat. I love the Batmobile. I love the
Monkey Mobile,
but everybody talks about the.
Oh yeah, we can.
And everybody talks about the Beverly Hillbillies mobile or
right,
whatever,
right,
and the monster car.
By the way, Ron. By the way, the Beverly Hill, nothing, and I love the Beverly Hillbillies, but
Yeah.
nothing about it made sense. We ought to do a show just on the Beverly Hillbillies sometime because nothing makes sense. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from me. What? You got a friend who just hit the jackpot and you're wanting him to move away? He could create jobs. He could open. And they're like, move away from
He
here,
could
Jed.
really fix up the
California's the
holler.
place you ought to be. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. That was awful. And on top of that, he's got this old beat up piece of garbage truck that sounds like, you get your baseball cards in the spokes of the wheels. And you think the first thing, Jethro was always noticing what brought the girls in and misinterpreting it, but there's no way you could misinterpret that a great looking car attracts women. Jethro would have been in a convertible Corvette inside of 15
Well,
minutes.
he was friends with Dash Riprock.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Hey, let's take my car.
Yeah.
Let's jump in that old jalopy. The girls will love that. Yeah. Gee whiz. We can't. Hey, Ron, Starsky and Hutch, Gran Torino.
Yep, there's another one. Yeah.
Kit from Knight Rider. These are honorable mention. The General Lee.
Yep,
and
General Lee. That's another well known. That's all the ones you see at the car show.
Oh, sure. And by the way, talk about unrealistic. Starsky and Hutch and the Gran Torino. They're undercover cops, and they paint their Gran Torino in such a way that if you've ever seen it one time and you saw that car 5 years later, you'd go, hey, I saw that car 5 years ago going down the street. And there would be. So, yeah, fine undercover vehicle. Go back to Beretta. He knew how to do an undercover vehicle. But Perry Mason, finally, that's maybe my favorite low key. He had these Cadillacs, all these black Cadillacs from the ran from 57 to 58, 59. He used different ones, different shows, but often in a Cadillac from the 62 series, and they were convertible Cadillacs, and they each had 4,000 to 5,000 pounds of chrome on them, and fins, and oh man, they were great.
Sanford Son truck.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Honorable mention. Yeah, boy.
Yeah,
that one
was in Stark and everything. That one played a big part in the show. They would sleep in the truck. They do all kinds. The truck was, man, it was, everybody knew what the truck was.
Why wouldn't you do that? And
come on, Tom Selleck's.
Right. The Ferrari. Yeah, the
Ferrari. Yeah.
And I guess if you want to move on, I mean, you can go closer, but Dan Tana and I forgot the other character he played, but he played a character where Hawk was a character, and he had a Mustang, just a souped-up Mustang. It was a cool car too. And I don't know why they don't do that more often. I don't know why. They had that crazy car that Columbo drove. I don't even know what it was.
Seems like Nash Bridges had a certain car too.
Yeah. Some don't. Lee Major's truck from The Fall Guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Things like that. There's a lot of vehicles, but the ones we highlighted are the ones that we like. Those three that I really mentioned are the ones I like. Got a song of the week. You got one too. What's your song of the week?
Yes, I do. Well, mine is directly connected to the first one I did. And, I go on like Partridge Family. I got to do I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family, or David Cassidy more specifically, because it was released just before the show came on, debuted. And by November, it was the #1 single in America for 3 weeks in 1970. And ended up being the best-selling single of the year.
David Cassidy was a pretty good vocalist. Supposedly, that was the first take on I Think I Love You. It was the first song he ever did in the studio. Went in, first take, sang I Think I Love You, and I don't know what.
It was written by Tony Romeo.
Yeah, Romeo. I think it's Romeo.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if that doesn't sound like a real name, does it?
That guy's still making. If he's still alive, he's still making royalties from I Think I Love You.
Really.
Mine is a little more obvious, Ron. Little Red Corvette, Prince.
Oh, nice.
1983. It's from the 1999 album, and got to be #6 in the country. And the whole song was about him and this girl taking a ride in a little red Corvette and going in through the outdoor. No, I'm sorry, that's Raspberry Beret. But anyway, I got a Prince
Yeah, there was
mashup
somebody
going
going
in.
into the outdoor a few times in that song, but
Sure. Little Red Corvette, my goodness. So just enjoyable topic. Of course, there are TV series built on just talking about automobiles and even TV automobiles. But I think we hit most of them though. The Munstermobile you mentioned, and a lot of these cars that were made specifically for a series, and they're fun too. But I like those real cars, the cars that you actually could save up for and maybe buy. Even if some of them were worth a couple of $100,000, you still could maybe get a used one or hang around and finally get one of those.
Yeah.
And I bet there are a lot of people driving collector item Firebirds.
I came close to listing Andy's patrol car.
I did too. I thought about that. A lot of police departments around the country have close reproductions of the Andy Griffith patrol car on display, or they use it in parades. And instead of spending the money on law enforcement, they spend it on an antique car that they can drive in parades.
Yeah, if you think about it, Richie and Ralph Mouth had pretty distinctive cars in Happy Days. Rich drove a red, candy apple red ragtop, and Ralph Mouth had the hot rod with the flames down the side.
That's true. If that was going to be a vehicle, if you're going to attach that show to vehicles, though, you got to go with the Fonz's motorcycle. We can expand this over into motorcycles.
Or Mr. C's DeSoto. Come on.
Just a question here before we leave for another week. Is there another? Who else rode a motor? Well, Chips. Besides Fonzie, the Chips characters rode a motorcycle. Who else rode a motorcycle on a TV show and showed it? You'd think there would be more of that. I mean, it's kind of a sexy
thing. Then came Bronson. The first thing popped in my head.
Who?
Then came Bronson.
Then came Bronson.
Was about riding a motorcycle.
One year show. It didn't last very long. Loved it, but it didn't last very long.
I'm trying to think if anybody else rode one. Well, Barney rode one in one episode.
That doesn't count. That just does not count.
We had the giant bush on the front of it.
Yeah, we may try to think of.
Batman had a motorcycle.
Yeah, he was the Batmobile. The Batmobile was all mad because Batman was cheating.
Of course, Batgirl rode a motorcycle. Let's see who else.
You would think
I can't think of anybody else offhand.
You would think that TV would be more into motorcycles. They put almost every character at a certain point in TV history, particularly the 50s and 60s. Everybody that was on TV had a convertible because they like for you to be able to see them as they pulled up. Yeah. Mr. Brady had a convertible on the Brady Bunch. And gosh, you're
Manny
totally
had a phone in his, baby.
Oh man, you're totally exposed on a motorcycle. It would look great. It'd be very similar to Roy Rogers going out and jumping on trigger. You run out and jump on that. Oh, what was that? Lamas, Fernando Lamas, not Fernando Lamas. What his son had a TV series where he rode a motorcycle.
Oh,
what?
I couldn't tell you to save my life, man.
You know the one I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And what was the son's name? I can't think of it.
Lorenzo.
Fernando. Huh?
Lorenzo.
What? Lorenzo Lamas. Yeah. And he rode a motorcycle, and that was a pretty cool show. Pretty fun.
I never saw that one. Never saw that one.
Yeah. So we're talking to TV producers. If anybody who produces TV shows happens to watch this for a few minutes of it, hey, come up with a good motorcycle show. Yeah. I'll watch it. I promise I'll watch it. Or just redo Chips.
They probably just don't want to take the risk of doing so much filming of somebody on a motorcycle. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But you could use stunt riders. Hey, can you imagine? Think how much better shows would have been with motorcycles. Think about Frasier. If Frasier had a motorcycle. Come on.
He needed one with a sidecar.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Joey on Friends would have been perfect on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
That would have really been. Ron, we got to get out of here. Once again, You know, I didn't mention this, but this is season 3, episode 11, number 101. I think we
One,
made
yeah.
101 a good one, Ron,
Mhm.
and a memorable one, and one we'll be
I
talking
think
about forever after the show.
so.
This is going to be our iconic show right here. Once again, Boomer Bongo Boulevard, and I guess we're done.
We're done.